All right, guys, what's up? Welcome into another edition of the Morning Edge, going in the afternoon edge today. A little bit of a delay here, so appreciate everyone hopping on. First, want to introduce Mackenzie Brooks there at the top of the screen. She's going to be with us this week. A lot to get into. First of all, Mackenzie, how you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Good. I'm excited for this week. How about you guys?
Yeah, a lot to get into. A lot of games went down this weekend. Krabs, how you doing there at the bottom? Good weekend in Vegas.
Yeah, we're living. Sent plenty of bets, lost a lot of them, especially early on in the first round. A lot of cake, plenty of cake to go around. But got back on track on the weekends. Had a good time. Was at Circa, hung out with Lisa Ann for a little bit. So I'd say it's a successful weekend from the boys
Sounds successful.
over here.
Sounds successful. All right,
Sure.
I'm glad to hear that. So, we mentioned it, guys. Ton of games that went down. We're not going to spend our whole time talking through every game, but just want to get your guys' biggest takeaways of the weekend. Obviously some big upsets. Princeton continues to dance. Obviously, it's a 15 seed here. The cool story on Fairleigh Dickinson. That was a good time. Almost took out FAU last night too. Good game there. But a lot of upsets going around this week. A lot. So, what was your guys' overall takeaway of the weekend?
I mean, what was up with that spread last night for the FAU game
Here.
and FDU? That was nuts. Why were they laying 16? They almost lost.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the heck that was about. Guys, I wouldn't go anywhere near the teams at the bottom here. They're priced that way for a reason. And yeah, Miami being plus 45 hundo makes no sense to the, bettor's eye right off the rip, but probably a reason they're that high and priced, plus 45 hundo at the same price as FAU, which is ridiculous if you really think about it. They don't have a chance of winning, if you ask me. None of these teams at the bottom do. I wouldn't even say Kansas State does, to be honest with you. I know they've been a great story, but I'd probably stay away from the bottom there. I think you start targeting, around Michigan State or Arkansas and up. But I wouldn't go with Bama or Houston because there's negative value on those two teams, and you've seen 2 1 seeds go down already, right? So I'd stick from UConn to Michigan State. That little middle area, I think, is good.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. I think I love the value on UConn. In my eyes, clearly the most competitive 4C we've seen, and clearly Vegas agrees with the third shortest odds. They had great odds at the beginning of this tournament too. They've been poised, they cover, and they've been favorites in their covering. And I think they have been a very consistent dominant force so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that first game against Iona, I think a lot of people thought that might be the upset game. Initially, in my bracket, I had Iona knocking them off. Early on, Iona looked good, right? They had the lead, but then UConn came back. What did they win that game by 20 points? I think the spread was 9.5. That was ended up being a sweat for game. So definitely like them there. Krabs, I know you and Miami have had a love-hate relationship this year, but I've been talking about them all year. I still like the value. I got them beating Houston in my brackets. I got them here. I cashed a Sweet 16 Miami ticket last night. I got a Final Four ticket on them. The value is insane. I mean, for Miami to have the same odds as FAU is kind of crazy. Now, that's obviously due to the fact that they're running into Houston. It was second best odds. But I question, the health of Houston. I know Sasser came back in that game, looked pretty good his last time out. But as hot as Miami can get with their guards, I think they can beat anyone in the nation. So I'd still keep an eye on Miami there. We still got the Zags, right, winning it all. So the value there, kind of a crazy. How about that game last night? That cover at the end.
Ooh. Yeah, I had TCU,
Yeah.
Matt, and had the future on Gonzaga, which I know you have too. That
Yep.
was nice. That was the
Well,
perfect
middle.
scenario there. Got the cover. Yeah, hit the middle. Got the
Mhm.
cover, but Gonzaga moves on. I'm not too excited for their matchup this coming week. I don't know how if you've taken a peep at
That's
that spread, but
yeah.
UCLA is a favorite, and that line is cooking. So
Mhm.
I'm a little bit nervous for Gonzaga. I'm just gonna say it.
A little
I am.
bit. Yeah. Crazy game last night, though. That cover, if you guys, I'm sure most of you saw it, but obviously last second three there to cover. I went alt spread Krabs -2. So I switched it up. I had a weird feeling. I woke up, I said Gonzaga's going to win. They're not going to cover. So ended up, I'm happy we both cashed there. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about that game, UCLA and Gonzaga. So that line is up to 2.5 right now in the favor of
Mm-hmm.
UCLA. And it
Mm-hmm.
opened, what did it open at? -1?
Open at 1.5.
1.5. So nothing like too crazy, but I want to get your
Mm-hmm.
guys' early thoughts on that one because obviously I think on paper that's the game of the week. There's two teams that can 100% win it all. UCLA got past Northwestern. That game tightened up for a minute, but they were in control pretty much the whole way. So they haven't really been tested yet. I think this will be their first real test of the tournament. What do you guys think about that one?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say Gonzaga's failed to cover as 4.5 point favorites in the second round versus TCU. They failed to cover as 15.5 point favorites in the first round. Uh, they don't really cover. They're 0-7 in the past 6 tournament games. So very intrigued to see how they handle this here. I think they've looked better than they have in the past.
Mhm.
UCLA, we thought they were going to be injured and wouldn't be what they are, but clearly they're proving us otherwise.
Yeah, no, good point too you make about the. I saw a tweet today. Gonzaga's the only team right now in March Madness that's 0-2 against the spread. So even though they've won both games, they have not been kind to the bettors so far. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still taking Gonzaga. I mean, they're my national champs, so I think I kind of have to at that point, right? I can't really bet UCLA and then have Gonzaga winning it all. But I don't know. It depends. Will they have an answer for Timmy? I mean, he really took that game over last night. Even when he wasn't scoring, just passing out of the double teams, to the 3-point line. They hit a couple big threes early in the half. I thought 5 minutes into that half, Gonzaga was going to run away with the game, to be honest, because they got hot. The crazy thing about Gonzaga, and this is why I think they're such a hard team to beat, that first half was their third worst shooting half of the entire season. And to survive that in March is insane. I mean, most teams can't do that. So I think that kind of speaks to how deep this team is. But Krabs, you mentioned that line a little bit. Scaring me a little bit. What's the health of Singleton? Is he playing? I mean, that injury looked bad at the end of the game. I don't know if but he ended up walking through the line and I guess it just looked worse than it was. I mean, that could be a significant piece. Obviously already down Jalen Clark, but I mean, that's another guy that if he is out of the lineup, that could kill them.
We do some looking while we're talking, but definitely concerning that line is moving towards UCLA with injury news, especially considering Gonzaga already clapped them up by 20-plus points earlier on this season. Yes. I know that was a beginning of the year, and that doesn't really matter that much to me at least, but they've already played. These teams have played, and Gonzaga wiped the floor with them. Now you turn around, and UCLA is a favorite, so as they're banged up. So a little interesting. Looks like he suffered an ankle sprain, unlikely to miss time there from Singleton, so he should be good to go. It's going to be the best game of the Sweet 16 by far.
Okay, yeah, so hope play. So I thought so. I mean, especially with the way the line's moving. But thank God he wasn't too hurt. And if you guys saw that injury, it did not look good. One other early game that I want to talk about, Krabs, you mentioned Michigan State, what they were able to do against Marquette. I mean, kind of just took them out of their game. Marquette turned the ball over at will, even though they didn't shoot the ball great. It wasn't really their shooting that hurt them. It was just I think there was one stretch in the second half, like 5 or 6 possessions, turnovers. So Michigan State turning up the heat. Tom Izzo doing what he does, winning in March. Now they run into Kansas State. But this line, we're talking about lines that have kind of steamed the other way, heavily moving towards Michigan State. They're up to -2 now at this point. Obviously, the lower seed. Kansas State, though, they were underdogs against Kentucky. Kind of proved the point. Mackenzie, do you have any thoughts on that game, the K-State and Michigan State game yet?
Yeah, I mean, Kansas State, we talked about Drew Timme. Someone else who's playing phenomenally is Marquise Noel, the 5'7" guard for Kansas State. I mean, just the deep shooting, the no-look feeds, it's unbelievable. 27 points, 9 assists last night. I mean, he's been a crowd pleaser and an entertainer. Watching them play Kentucky, I think they run at a really high pace. I think this could be an over game for them. I think they can shoot better than they did against Kentucky, at least in that first half. They weren't performing as well. So I don't know. I kind of like Kansas State in this situation, just given the way that Marquise Noel is playing for them. I like this at over 137.5. It's already moved up from 136.5. The spread implies a close game. I mean, now it's a little farther than it was earlier this morning, but given a shootout situation, I think they can go over this number.
Yeah, I like that look also. But yeah, I think this can be a good game. I think Kansas State, when it comes down to it, I like Michigan State in this spot. But you mentioned Kansas State offensively with Noel, Keontae Johnson had an outstanding year. I believe both of them second team All-American. So this team's deep. They can definitely get going. That game against Kentucky, though, crazy they were able to win that. I think they made like 1-3 until there was, 4 or 5 minutes in the game left. They just got hot at the end. I mean, Kentucky had a 4-point lead with like 4 minutes left. So Kentucky more so, I think, choked the game away. What was Reeves' stat line? He was like 0 for 27. Like he had some crazy
1 for 15 from 3.
Yeah, pretty much 0 for 27. Yeah, I mean that's not going to play when that's your main guy. That's to step up. Sheboy played great. I think Kansas State on the glass, they're going to get eaten alive. But Michigan State has a couple bigs that they could throw out there. We saw what Sheboy did. Obviously, he's one of the best rebounders in the nation, but they're undersized. I think they're going to struggle. I think this is a favorable matchup for Michigan State. One other game, guys, that we were requested to talk about. I believe this game. Is this Friday? Let me just
double. And real quick, while you're figuring that out, I got to make a point about Michigan State because this is probably my favorite bet of the Sweet 16. Michigan State on the spread. I grab it while you still can because it's going to be at 2.5 any minute now. Keep moving. I think Michigan State might win the whole thing with how they've been playing and how they've looked recently. Ty Walker, he's the closer. We know he's a dog. He's a mid-range king. He looks like freaking John Wall out there. Joey Hauser's playing his best basketball at Michigan State in the last 3 years. Incredible right now. Same with AJ Hogarth. He's been really good off the dribble too. And Aikens has been pretty solid as well. And Malik Hall stepped up. And they have Big Sissoko in the paint, who, like you said, Matt, this Kansas State team is great and all, cool story, but they're the luckiest team in college basketball. Their center is Dave Nagesson, the transfer from VT, who didn't even play there. This kid's about to get absolutely eaten alive by Sissoko, in my opinion. That's probably why the spread's moving that way. Love Sparty, and I'm probably going to have to get a future in.
I love that. Look at that number there, plus 3,000. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's the main point is they're going to really struggle in the paint. And that could also be good there for the over McKenzie, filling up. I don't think Kansas State really is a rim protector. So you mentioned also the guards, Hogarth and Walker. As good as shooters as they are, they're more explosive off the bounce. So I don't think they're going to have any fear, going into the paint. So I think this game script, this style of play matches up. And who wants to fade Tom Izzo this time of year? I did fade him. I did go Marquette. Dumb bet by me. I trusted them against USC, and then I turned around, faded them, and they took my money. One more game, guys, though. Xavier in Texas. So we're looking at the odds here. Xavier, obviously, a super long shot. Has some of the best odds or worst odds, obviously best to bet and make more money on this screen. Texas there, they have the 5th best odds to win a national championship. That game against Penn State, they controlled it all the way, right? Then Penn State goes on that big run late. Another legacy cover, by the way, by Penn State, 4-point play at the end. But they most of the game, Texas controlled, right? It looked like they were in control. I know when they went down, what did they go down, 4-3 late? Their money line got up to like plus 250. It went up, pretty good amount because I think there was only 4 or 5 minutes left in the game. But they kind of showed they can get it done. Now that was Dylan Dessou that took over. That's not even one of their main guys. They're obviously led by Marcus Carr, Serge Barger-Rice, Timmy Allen. So I think that game was for them to survive. Now they have a chance here. I think they match up really well against Xavier, but getting 4 points. Mackenzie, we'll start with you. Do you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I agree. Watching them against Penn State did it for me to think that this team could really do it. I mean, they played scrappy, and yes, you could say they barely got out of there, but the way they did it felt like they were in control and had that game on their side. So I like them a lot. Another team that's been great covering the spread, 6-0-1 the last 7 games. And Xavier sweat the one out a little bit too, but I like the upper hand for Texas and how scrappy they've been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. Definitely great defensive team. I think their ability, to win that game with someone like Carr and, Jabari Rice, he didn't shoot the ball well at all, and they still were able to win the game. It kind of shows how deep of a team they are. Krabs, any thoughts on that one? Now, the Xavier game, by the way, too, Xavier survived Kennesaw State, which was one of my big first-round upsets. I thought they were going to win the game, but they made it out alive. It doesn't matter how you get there. You just got to make it out alive. Playing field, obviously, now even, but 4-point spread. Krabs, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't love the game. I'll be honest with you. I really don't know what to make of it yet. Xavier has the best offensive basketball at times, but they couldn't cover apart Carr. Texas has the best offense in basketball sometimes, and then they go completely silent. So it's like 2 very inconsistent teams here. Yeah. I think I probably lean Xavier at this point. Texas is getting hammered with bets, and that line ain't moving one bit. So as of right now, I do lean Coach Miller and Xavier. Coach Miller is a better coach than Texas' interim coach. Hate to say it, but he is. So they do have the coaching advantage there, but they definitely do not have the player advantage. And you mentioned Dessou. I mean, Matt, this guy is coming to his own, and now he's become one of the main guys on this team. He's become, the second or third option behind, the backcourt there. So yeah, that Texas team is scary. There's going to be points in this game, I would say. Yeah. I like the over. I think is what I'd go with it right now.
What's the number right now? It can't be that high.
148.5.
Okay, 148.5. You kind of mentioned two totally different styles, but I think it's more who can establish their style. Texas obviously wants to slow you down a little bit, play on the half court, but I mean Xavier can run with the best of them. So interesting game to say the least. Is there any other game that sticks out to you guys that you want to go before? We're going to get into some NFL free agency talk, guys. We're going to talk a little bit of NFL today, but is there any other game that you guys want to hit on that a line you think might move a little bit before we get there that we did not talk about?
I'd say FAU being a 5.5-point dog to Tennessee with how Tennessee's looked recently. That's a pretty wild line, if you ask me. FAU barely just beat Fairleigh Dickinson, and they did not look good doing it. They shot like crap. So that's a short line. I'll be on FAU. I'd probbe grab that ASAP. I have a feeling that one's going to probably move in reverse. You're going to see bets come in on Tennessee and FAU shrink as a dog because the sharps are hammering them 100%.
Yeah, I go not even a game in particular, but we look at the unders, the trending of the unders this past round one, round two, hitting at 67%. Before Sunday, it was 75%. I think we see a change in the storyline come the Sweet 16, and I think, the lines have adjusted to all these people ready to hammer the under, and I think slowly throughout the week these lines are going to raise, but I think a lot of these lines I look at, I like the over.
Yeah, great point too about the percentage. I mean, I don't know who's crazy enough out there to be betting all these unders, but someone's doing it and making a lot of money doing it. But
whoever's doing it's rich.
That's right. Yeah. That guy's looking good. Whoever's doing it, but not enjoyable to watch these unders. Tennessee though, that point you made about them, Krabs, 5.5, wherever the line is right now. That was one of the games I went to, Duke versus Tennessee. I mean, they're just so much bigger and strong. It just looked like a dad playing a son, you know what I mean, in the driveway. They were just bigger and stronger, and they could do whatever they wanted. Duke really had no chance. Like, I never really felt confident. I actually was on Duke before the game, and then I started watching the game, and it's one of those bets where, like, you immediately knew that, like, they just physically couldn't compete with them. But, yeah.
Tennessee's defense, welcome to the show. I mean, they are incredible.
Yes, and they're doing it without Ziegler too. I know the one guy told me Ziegler doesn't matter. He's still maybe
he's playing better. They've been playing better without Ziegler, and my fault for being distracted. I'm sweating out the end of this Rice basketball game right now, and I think they just pulled out the craziest cover of all time. They were down 15 with 5 left, and I'm pretty sure they just covered, but I gotta check.
What was that? Well, it looked like it went final because personally, I bet they were playing Southern Utah, right?
Oh my God, they covered.
What was the final?
Okay, so here's the breakdown. They were down 15 the entire game. I mean, Southern Utah just put up a 50-piece in the first half. Yeah. Rice was down 15 with 5 left, and they just came back and lost this game by 2. They hit some crazy threes down the stretch, looking like Steph Curry and the Warriors.
Legacy
Unbelievable.
Personally, I jumped on Southern Utah's team total under. It was like 85.5 per game. Thought that was dead. So we're getting a bunch of good news here, guys.
Just hit.
Yeah, we'll take it. So see some live. We're catching some live bets on the show also for you guys. But yeah, one more point about FAU also. Their draw hasn't been tough at all, and like they didn't play anyone during the season. So I mean, the win over Memphis, people have their opinion about it. Was it a jump ball? Was it not a jump ball? I don't know. That doesn't really matter now. But, I mean, with all due respect to Fairleigh Dickinson, like playing them to get to the Sweet 16, I'm not going to look into and be like, this is a legitimate team. They haven't really done anything yet to impress me. So Tennessee's going to be the toughest team they've played all year. And I think it's tough when you have to pick up, in the Sweet 16 and say, all right, here's the toughest team we've had to play all season. I don't think there's a chance that
they have a guy on that team though, and all you need is one guy. They got Janelle Davis. This kid's incredible. He's a stud, and he's been going off recently. So if anybody can do it, there's got to be at least one guy, one dog on that team to carry a freaking Cinderella story, and they got one. So we'll see.
Big. I think Tennessee rolls in that spot, but we'll see. We'll see how the game ends up. All right, guys, we're going to transition to a little bit of NFL. All right, so we've been talking all week, and as much as I love March Madness, and I'm sure you guys too, feels like we've been doing a long, intense workout for 4 days. I'm just tired. We need a little break here. So we're going to break it off with some NFL talk. We haven't talked NFL in a long time. I'm still heartbroken from my Eagles losing in the Super Bowl, so I need a little bit of time to, relax and get back into it. Here's the odds of the current Super Bowl teams. Also think, we can talk a little free agency if you guys want. A lot's been going down the last few days. Obviously, last week was the main time for agency. Aaron Rodgers, we think he's on the move. He went in the darkness, decided he wanted to play for the Jets. Whatever that meant, but that's where he is right now. But let's just talk some NFL, guys. What's your guys' storylines and takeaways from free agency or futures? Really, whatever you guys want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go ahead. I'm with you on the Eagles. I'm still heartbroken from that one, but
yeah, you're an Eagles fan too, Sid.
I am, and now it's like the Super Bowl hangover. We have to pay everyone. We're losing people, and yes, we are. But keeping Bradbury and Slay, and kind of the bones of this defense, I think we're gonna make it out alive better than I thought we were. Obviously, it's not going to be nearly the same. I think Rashad Penny was a great pickup. I'm glad we still have depth with Boston Scott and
and everyone there. So if he can stay healthy, I'd say that's a great move. But if he can't stay healthy, I'm not upset with who's behind him.
Mm-hmm. Also, it was such a cheap deal. I think it's 600,000,
Yeah.
like up to $1 million. So yeah, I definitely think. I mean, when he was healthy, definitely a guy to watch out for. You mentioned maintaining both corners. Obviously, CJ signed with the Lions today on kind of a bizarre contract. It was like 1 year, $8 million. Definitely not what I expected. So that was a weird takeaway. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough when you have a quarterback that's about to make whatever Hurts is going to make. It's hard to maintain the talent around him, but we know Howie will do something. He always does. So we got
Preston Howie. That's where I'll leave it there.
Exactly. Yeah, and we top 10 pick in the draft, and then obviously still the 31st pick. So can build through the draft. Krabs, any teams that stick out to you in the offseason that have done a good job?
Yeah, I'm surprised to see the Manders haven't made their way up here yet with the shortest odds for the Super Bowl with all their offseason acquisitions. But no, all jokes aside, let's be honest here, guys. Why the heck are the Cowboys on this board, and why are they the sixth shortest odds to win it? We've seen this movie every single year for the last – I mean, we're not that old, but for the last 30 years since Jerry Jones has pretty much bought the team, the Cowboys have done next to nothing. And the respect they get year in, year out is hilariously incorrect, in my opinion. And guys, I mean, you guys are Eagles fans, so you feel free to hop in on this if you want. But you've watched this team play for the last 10 years of your guys' life, probably the majority of the games. The Cowboys stink. They don't win. They don't come through. They do bonehead decisions. Pretty soon they're going to have the worst owner in the conference and the division once Snyder sells the team in a week. But the Cowboys being here is hysterically ridiculous and incorrect, in my opinion. The Ravens, even with no Lamar, in that whole situation, I put them ahead of the Cowboys to win the whole thing. I put Justin Herbert. I put Jared Goff. And that electric Lions team we just saw for the first time be good. All these teams, in my opinion, have a better chance to win it than the Cowboys, and they don't even belong on the screen, in my opinion. They really don't.
So one thing, I always love Cowboy slander. That's always fun. I'm always down. Mackenzie, I'm sure you agree with that. But so the Lions have the best odds to win the NFC North, I'm guessing, right? If there's no Vikings on here, and then so that's crazy. That has to be the first time in years. I mean, it's hard to argue right now. Obviously, the Vikings had a great regular season, and now the Packers, we don't know who the quarterback will be. I mean, I guess Jordan Love will take over, but we don't know how they'll look, obviously, with him in the lineup. So that's my takeaway. The Lions, keep an eye out for them. Jared Goff had a career year. That offense, I mean, they're scary, and they've been able to. We mentioned CJ signing with them today, Gardner Johnson from the Eagles. They've added some other good corners. They can continue to build through the draft. So, yeah, I think the Lions are a team to keep an eye on there for the NFC. But I also agree. How do the Cowboys get on this list every year? Every season, they always have top 5, top 10 opportunity to win a Super Bowl, and it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything they've done this offseason so far has been wrong. I think Brandon Cooks and Gilmore are great additions, but they are still lacking the flashy pass catcher, the fantasy point builder.
Oh.
We got a freezer? It's all right.
Oh, no.
First show free.
Well, I'll pick up the slack here, sure. How about the Niners getting respect here, Matt? They're like the fifth shortest odds to win it. Actually, honestly, second. They're tied with all these other teams. How about the Niners with no QB really right now, with Lance, coming back hurt probably, or maybe coming back in time, and then Purdy definitely missing some time. No Jimmy G either. That's some serious respect for Coach Shanahan and that defense.
Mm-hmm. Mackenzie, we're happy you're back with us. We thought you left after.
Good work.
I just get heated about the Cowboys. I need a second.
Exactly. Sometimes you just gotta hop off. Yeah, get some anger out. But yeah, Krabs was just talking about the Niners there too. Their defensive line, I will say, because they signed Hargraves from the Eagles. Their defensive line is insane. But the issue is, they don't really have a quarterback yet. It might be Sam Darnold's season there, right, in San Francisco. So we'll see who they go with. I think you can kind of plug anyone in and have success in that offense. I think Jimmy G proved that. I guess time will tell. Now, we do want to get to the NFC East odds, as we mentioned. Me and Mackenzie, Eagles fans. Krabs is a Commanders fan. So here it is. Look at this. The Cowboys still, their respect at 175.
Disrespect on the Manders, though. What are we doing here?
That is good value. That is good value.
Yeah, I mean, we all know they're not going to win it. Let's not kid ourselves here. I'm not that delusional. Although if we do win the first game of the season, I'm going to say we're going to win the Super Bowl. But that is a disrespectful line. I mean, guys, there's one team in this division right now that scares me, and it probably scares you guys too. It's the G-Men. It's the Giants. It's what they're building up there in Jersey, and I hate to say it.
He'll never scare me. I'm sorry. I
hate to say it, but they're starting to scare me.
I'm more scared of Sam Howell than Daniel Jones. He just will never strike free. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the time he fell when he was running in against the Eagles, the touchdown. I don't know. It's just like I have this thing in my head where he will never scare me. I'm more surprised how long the odds are now. I don't have the numbers here, but as NFC East fans, we know it's never like back-to-back teams win. You know what I mean? It's always.
I think
it's something.
2004, 2004 is the last time it was back-to-back.
A repeat winner. Maybe it's our turn then. Maybe it's our turn.
We got to win one first to repeat. So maybe they get it this year, and then they run it back. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
And the Eagles might have been the last team to do it, right? If it was because that's when they went to the Super Bowl 2004. So they might have been the last team to do it. I don't. We'll have to see. We'll find out. But at plus 105, I mean, obviously I'm going to say my Eagles, but there's no value bet. Krabs, I'll throw your Commanders out there. Just go win a division. Why not? If Snyder sells the team, that'd be fun. You know, it kind of in spite of him.
I mean, we have top 10, top 5-ish defense at times, right?
Yeah,
we have a much improved offensive line now. We just signed a guy from the Giants, actually, and we signed Wiley, obviously, from the Chiefs. Bieniemy brought him over. And let's not forget about Coach Bieniemy, who's coming over and taking over the OC duties, which is pivotal for us. We had a guy calling the plays who didn't know what the hell he was doing half the time from the Panthers. So I'm super happy we got rid of Scott Turner. All best of luck to him, but he was not great. This team is going to be completely different on the offensive side of the ball, and they're going to have that same hard-nosed blue-collar defense. Why not take a shot on the Manders at plus 1,000? I mean, no other team really on this list has enough value to take, in my opinion, with such an even conference that always beats up on each other, right?
Yes. Yeah, I don't think it scares me. That stat scares me, but Eagles still the best team in the division. And then I think it's kind of like
I don't know if you guys are. I don't know if you have the best roster anymore with all these guys leaving. I'd say the Giants have the best roster right now.
I don't know.
Straight up.
Now you're talking a little crazy.
Yeah, I might be crazy. I mean, I think Darren Waller was a great pickup for them. I think it's a risk for them. We know why didn't it work out for him at the Raiders, but I think it's a risk very well worth taking for this team, and I think he's the right guy to play with Daniel Jones. So I think the two of them specifically together can be successful. But I think a lot of their odds being, as I don't want to call them short as they are, though, come from what the Eagles are losing and less of what the Giants are gaining necessarily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when you break it down, obviously CJ I would say he was a big loss, and Hargreaves was a big loss. And after that, I don't think there's any guy that I'm like, we can't replace. Because Nakobe Dean coming in, he'll take over for TJ Edwards. Like, they didn't really lose a ton. They lost Zach Pascal today. He was like a
Miles Sanders.
I don't worry too much about running back. I'm in the mindset of running backs are super replaceable in like a system. So I think Gainwell will step up. Mackenzie mentioned Penny. I mean, he could come on and have a year like he had in the past where he takes over. But we'll see. Time will tell. And they have so many picks in the draft, especially having 2 first-rounders. I mean, you could draft 2 starters, right, from the draft, especially with the number 10 pick. I think they'll go safety. I think that's the spot where initially it was corner because we thought Bradbury was gone for sure. I mean, I thought there was no chance they were going to keep him. So overall, I think they did a decent job in the offseason. I think the Bears are another team in the offseason that's done a pretty good job. They've brought in some decent free agents. I liked what they did. I think we all knew they were going to move the number 1 pick because Justin Fields kind of proved last year that he can be the guy.
Great trade from them. Great trade for them.
You just loaded up. You got DJ Moore, so now you give him you get Fields a legitimate receiver. So I liked what Chicago's done in the offseason to this point, but obviously there's still a lot of big time names out there. We'll see who ends up where.
I wish I could take like the spread of all 4 of these NFC East teams to be like super close, like plus 2.5, like the first place team to the last place team or some crazy stuff like that at like plus 300. I think it's just going to – the NFC East is going to be the NFC East. It's going to be, teams losing to teams they shouldn't be losing to, teams beating teams they're not supposed to be beating, and a close finish like it's been the last 15, 20 years,
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's a good point. I wish there was a bet out there where you could just bet like how many games behind they're going to be at the end of the year.
I guess you just take the bottom 2 teams win total overs and top 2 teams win total unders. I don't
Could
know.
do that. Maybe not a
Sure.
bad idea. I don't know. The Eagles have a tough schedule this year. I know that. So I don't know what their win total is at the moment, but I'm guessing whatever it is, it's probably
Add that to the list of problems. It's
a
starting to
tough
stack
schedule.
up, looking like a CVS receipt in Philly.
As long as we make it. I don't even care who wins. Get in the playoffs, and then we'll see what happens. The Eagles will be in the playoffs. I promise you guys that. I don't know.
I agree.
Sure.
I agree with
think
that.
they'll win the East, but yeah, we'll see. All right, guys. So we got through a little NFL
Give me the
talk.
Giants, though. Give me the Giants. Plus
All right, on the
550.
record, Krabs is the Giants. It's donating money. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see who comes out with what in this one. So, guys, we're gonna get to our best bets for the night. Gonna run through it here. So we got a little college basketball talk, a little NFL, and now it's gonna be time for our best bet. So let's get right to it. Who wants to start? Krabs or Mackenzie? Which one of you guys want to get us going?
I like the leadoff spot. We'll let the newbie sit on this one a little bit and see if she can craft up a good pitch. But I love an NBA player prop today, which I never freaking take. I'm dabbling in the NBA. You know, these CBI games stink. We know this. Didn't even really talk about them today.
We just got legacy covers, Krabs. I don't know if they stink.
The Rice game, I got to go back and rewatch that because that might have been the greatest cover in the history of basketball. But besides that one, I mean, we're not going to have any luck after that game. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Let's go to the NBA, right? Let's switch it up a little bit. Let's go with Klay Thompson over 22.5 points for the Golden State Warriors. We saw Klay get roasted by the Memphis Grizzlies in that last game when they were losing, getting chirped on the bench, and he kept doing his little 1, 2, 3, 4 rings. That was pretty much his only comeback. That's all Klay's really been saying for the last 5 years. Any comebacks, even if he's not playing well. But to be honest, that little championship shout out is getting tired for me. I think he's got to back it up with his play, and I think after getting chirped by the Grizzlies last night or in their last game, coming off a not very good game, he's going to go off tonight against a team he's already dropped 240 pieces against this year. The Houston Rockets couldn't guard a parked car. This is one of the worst defenses I've ever seen in my entire life. They're tanking. The only thing I'm worried about is a blowout. But I still think Klay's going to get over 30 points in this game, so we're taking the over 22.5. He's not been great in his last couple, but this prop is high, and it's high for a reason. He's going to be ignited by those comments from the Grizzlies, who everybody hates, by the way. And you're going to see vintage Klay tonight, absolutely splashing threes like the old days. Give me Klay over 22.5.
All right, I like that. So you don't think he should be throwing up the rings anymore? You think it's time to stop that and just
look? He can say whatever he wants because he's on the biggest dynasty in the NBA currently / in recent history. So I mean, look, it's just the easy way out. It's like, okay, obviously you're going to reference your rings, but what have you done for me right now this year? What have you done for me lately, right? You're a fossil. How about these new guys coming up and beating you and punching you in the mouth like the Grizzlies, right? So I'm tired of it a little bit. I think he needs to back it up with his play. And with the points prop that high, I think we're going to get a vintage performance tonight. I'm stoked. Okay.
I like that. All right, I'll be hopping on that. All right, Mackenzie, first show pick, no pressure. What do you got?
All right, this is going to be big. I'm going Kelly Oubre over 23.5 points against the Pacers tonight. They had a brutal beatdown in Philly. He had a brutal beatdown himself, 11 points. But outside of that game, he has been phenomenal replacing LaMelo Ball while he's injured. He's hit this over 23.5, 6 of his last 8 games. And it helps a lot that the Pacers are 25th in defensive rating. So I think he gets a lot of action tonight. I think this is a get-right spot for him. And I even like his over points and rebounds, which was at 28.5, which I liked a lot better. I think it's at 29.5 now on most books. Another great spot. He's hit this number plenty of times too. I think this is just an Oubre game tonight.
Go to muted, Matt. Go to muted. I like that prop there, Mackenzie.
I was muted.
While he figures it out. There you go. I like Kelly Oubre, ex-Wizard, beast.
Ex-Wizard, yeah. There it is. Yeah, I was also saying that I like the prop, Mackenzie, while I was muted because my dog decided to bark. All right, I'll close this out here, guys. I'm going to be fading my 76ers tonight. I'm going to take the Bulls. So I know I don't do it often. Listen, it's a regular season game, and look, they could still easily win. We're getting 9 points, so there could be the best both worlds. Quick shout out to Joel Embiid. He's up to minus 220 now to win MVP, so that's fun. I don't want to hear any all year, guys. All I heard, Jokic 3 in a row. Where's Embiid's MVP? He's going to have one in a couple months. He's been on a tear. This team's been on a tear as of late. I mean, they've skyrocketed up to second in the East. They've took over the Celtics. They are a couple games behind the Bucks. They've played great as of late. I just think they're due for some regression at some point. I just don't know if they're going to be able to maintain this kind of play. Now, the Sixers schedule is really hard. We were talking about the Eagles schedule earlier on. Philly had the toughest schedule in the entire league in the second half of the season. They have passed the test with flying colors. I mean, they're beating good teams every night. Now, they did just play the Bulls at Chicago. They were able to take care of them in that game. And then this is the thing, or I'm sorry, they will play the Bulls again in Chicago after this. That's what it is. It's a like a home back-to-back. But I think Philly, as good as they've been at home tonight, just getting too many points. This Bulls team's been pretty disappointing this year. We remember last year they had a really good regular season, 33 and 37 overall this year. I think they keep it close enough. They still have DeRozan, they still have Levine. We're not asking much, guys. Just cover. Just lose the game by 8 points and we're good. Then my Sixers win and we all win. So I'll back the Bulls tonight here with the points, but Bulls +9, -120 on FanDuel. So there it is, guys. 3 winners.
That might be the grossest play on the card. It's so crazy. It just might work.
It might work.
Work.
It's time to fade Philly, and I never say that, but tonight.
I love hearing you say that. I'll be honest. I do.
Don't get used to it. It's a one-time thing. As we'll leave it there. But a regular season game in March, not going to lose sleep over. I will never fade my teams in the playoffs. That I promise. Mm-hmm. But during the regular season, I can do it. All right, guys. Well, that's going to be today's episode. Shout out again to Mackenzie for hopping on. Make sure you guys give her a follow there on Twitter at KensBrooksBets, right there on the screen. Make sure, did she freeze at the end when I'm giving her a shout out? That's not nice.
Sure.
Leave. Why not?
Cash over 1.5 freezes.
Are you back?
We're back.
All right, there it is. Yeah, she's back.
You may be upset about the Sixers again.
Okay, well, that's fair. Her second time getting mad and leaving the show. But as I was saying, thank you, Mackenzie, for coming on today. Make sure you guys give her a follow right there on the screen at KensBrooksBets. She'll be on more this week, obviously, so make sure to continue to check that out. Krabs, as always, it's always fun chopping it up with you. So we will be back, guys. Back to our normal time tomorrow. Apologize again. I had a flight coming in, got delayed, got us pushed back. Thanks to you guys for being flexible with it. And we will see you guys back here tomorrow morning. Let's cash in some tickets.